Uh, Definition of probability. So essentially, generally speaking, right, a probability of a desired outcome occurring out of some number of equally likely outcomes is equal to the number of desired outcomes over the total number of possible outcome. Now, so an outcome is actually that's when you're doing an operation, for instance, the result of that operation, that's what you call an outcome. So for instance, if you throw a die, yeah, a possible outcome is like you can have a 1, you can have a 2, you can have 3. So 1, 2, 3, those are called outcome, right? So if you throw a die, you have 6 possible outcomes, because you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, right? So for instance, though, using this formula here that I have, for instance, let me write that down here. If you throw, let's say you throw a die, right? So what's the probability of a roll of a die resulting in a 1 or 2? For instance, probability of die resulting in 1 or 2. All right. So what's the probability of a die resulting in 1? So you need 1. But what's the probability? What's the total number of possible outcomes, right? So when you throw a die, there are 6 possible outcomes. So the probability of a die resulting in 1 is 1. That's my desired outcome, over the total number of possible outcome, and that's a 6. But here the question is resulting in 1 or a 2. So or is always represented by a plus, and is a multiplication, and I'm going to do an example on that. So this is like a product multiplication, and or is represented by a plus, so you're adding. So probability of a die resulting in 1 is 1 over 6. The probability of a die resulting of 2 is also 1 over 6, but you need either or, so you add them together. So the probability of die resulting in 1 or 2 is 1/3, right? So let's say, for instance, you are asked to find the probability of 2 coin tosses. Like, for instance, let me think about it. If you toss two coins, what's the probability of both of them actually turning up heads? So a toss, a coin is like one head. Let me use a different color. Let's say probability of 2 coins turning up heads. just as an example. Um, so first of all, this is an AND function. So because you need the probability of both of them turning up head, so one has to turn head and the other one also has to turn head. So remember, AND is a multiplication. So what's the probability of one coin turning up head? That'll be 1/2, because you need one, because you have one head and the other side as well. So so you have 1 over, because you have two possibilities, right? So 1 out of the two possibilities, and then the other one is also turning head, so that's 1/2. So the total number of possible outcomes is 2, right? So but you need both turning head, so that would be a multiplication, and your answer is 1/4. So as you can see here, I just kind of wanted to show you briefly, when you have a simple probability question where you're asked like where there's an occurrence of either or you have two occurrences. So if you have an or function, then you add them together, but if you have an and function, you multiply them together. So you need to find the probability of one desired outcome over the total number of possible outcomes, and then depending on the question of whether or not it's either or and function, then you add or you multiply. So next video would be on permutation and combination, and I'm going to do example on those.